You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, Super Friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 157. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, fortanerd.com. We got the links to Google, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, basically anywhere podcasts are available. Stop by, relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, you got to hit that subscribe button so you get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
It's Thanksgiving Day today on the day of release. Of course, it's not Thanksgiving when we record.
What?
But yeah, I know the magic behind the podcast. But I always kind of have to try mentally get myself into that mode because the podcast releases on a Thursday and it's Thanksgiving. People are going to be sitting around with pumpkin pie and pecan pie and turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing and football and family fights. Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving for all of those reasons. So many fights. That's my favorite.
Right?
All the fights.
What do you mean you think that? Seriously.
Oh, man.
By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, just for this Thanksgiving, if you're listening before you go over the family, don't talk to the weird uncle that always wants to talk politics. Just let it go. Don't be baited by grandma into some conversation about how times were better back when. Just enjoy your family, enjoy the good food, and, just think that tomorrow you don't have to be with them if they're giving you a rough time. So there's always that.
This is true, unless you're staying with them for a week, and then you got to kind of figure out how
well,
to navigate.
Then just
You'll
take
be
the wind
okay.
out of my sails, Matt.
You'll be okay, everybody. Just say okay, boomer, anytime anybody says something annoying.
No, don't do that. That's so stupid.
Drives my mom insane when I say it. I love it.
Yeah. No, the other thing too, your mom's not a boomer.
She is.
Is she?
Yeah, my dad and my mom are both boomers.
Okay,
Barely. My
then
mom's a boomer by 1 year.
Okay. See, yeah. See, the funny thing is, people the new generation. I heard someone the other day, whatever the Generation Z, generation whatever, use that term to a millennial. And I was like, okay, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of taken on its own, I don't know. It's more of a meme than it is actually meaning a boomer. It's just when somebody is being old, you say, okay, boomer.
It's going to be the Bye Felicia. That was really popular for a hot minute. And it's kind of, some people don't know when to let go of things. So it's still around for some people. But eventually, it's,
it'll
it's
die.
gone.
It'll die.
I mean, do you hear people say, you go girl, that much anymore? Not really.
All the time in my TV shows.
Well, yeah, but you're
Kidding.
watching TV
Never.
shows from the 90s, man.
Yeah, thanks to Disney Plus.
Right?
No. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This has been a good week over here at the Shaw House. I did what you did last week, Spencer, which was setting up the Christmas lights.
Nice.
I did the whole shebang with I got the C9 lights, bought the clips, went on the roof, did the whole clips and everything.
White or colored lights?
White.
Okay. Did you go for the opaque or
warm.
the little more clear so they're brighter?
The warm, white, light. Very classic, kind of that timeless classic look. That's what we went for. So all in all the Christmas lights, the extension cords, which I thought I had enough and had the right kind and the right plugs and 2 trips to Target later. I think I started at 10 a.m. and finished about 5. It took me all day. And it was great.
About my experience, yeah.
frustrating at certain points, but when I finished, I said, wow, what a feat of engineering. And then I plugged the 2 plugs in together and sang Joy to the World, as Clark Griswold does, and probably my favorite Christmas movie of all time, Christmas Vacation. And it lit up like a Christmas tree, and I thought, I've done it. Anyway, so that was...
Was this the first year you've done lights?
Yes. So, because, I mean, in an apartment, like, we wrapped them around our little, like, balcony. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, this was our first time doing, like, real Christmas lights, like an actual... We kind of threw the Christmas nets on our bushes. We've got quite a few bushes out in the front and wrapped it around our railing as it goes up to our house. And so I think we're pretty much done with the outdoor decor. So that took me a long time, though.
Here's the nice thing, because it took me a while, too. Like, same thing. Like, I started, like, at 10 in the morning, and I finished at, like, 5 at night.
Yep.
Next year, now that you know exactly where it goes, it's going to go a lot faster.
Yep. I have to keep telling myself as I kept buying stuff, this is one-time purchases. You don't have to buy this next year. Everything's going to be set until next year comes along.
Okay, so you got the Christmas lights up. What else has been going on in your household this week?
You know, not a ton other than preparing for Thanksgiving. We've got a ginormo turkey in our refrigerator, and today we went shopping and picked up all of the things that we need because, in my experience, don't go on Wednesday.
Right.
And obviously don't go on Thursday. And don't even go on Tuesday if you can help it. It's a madhouse. So we got all that shopping done today, we think, until I know that I'll inevitably have to go to H-E-B, which is our grocery store here, and pick something up. Heb. Shout out to all those that know about H-E-B. It's the greatest grocery store in the history
Houston
of grocery stores.
Area bakery?
It's the founder. His name was like Henry E. Butts or something, but it stands for here.
His last name is Butts?
Here, everything's better. That's what it supposedly means. But yeah,
Come on, shop down at Henry E. Butts grocery store.
Back in the day when there was keyboarding, I think is what the class was called, when you had a class on keyboarding.
Yep.
My teacher's last name was Butts. It was great. It was so
Love
good.
it.
Anyway, back to it. Other than that, this last week was, we're preparing. My sister-in-law is coming, Reese, which will be a lot of fun. Emmy's really excited to see her. And for the first time in, I want to say, 20 years? I probably would honestly say 20 years. I went to IHOP and had a very pleasant experience. Very surprising, because IHOP is kind of it's not Denny's. I always think of Denny's as worse than IHOP, but that may be hey, that's a debate for another day.
Denny's versus IHOP.
IHOP. Anyway, it was the smallest IHOP. Like, picture like a small diner, and that was the IHOP. I've never been to an IHOP this small, and they were so nice, and it was so great. It had a very Christmassy feel to it. And had a delicious meal. It was a lot of fun. So,
did you just go by yourself, or did you take the wife and the kids?
I went with my wife and my kids. And
did you go after 4:30? Because after 4:30, kids eat free.
I had no idea kids ate free. And then she came back and she said kids eat free after I was going to pay the bill and expecting to see a larger number. And I was very pleased. So, And then my mom and dad and my brother were there as well. So it was a lot of fun. And that was pretty much the week, other than playing Star Wars Fallen Order, not wanting it to end. So I continue to try and find chests and take as long as I can and go back to places I've already been with new abilities. And I just, Anyway.
I hear it's good.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you, but
I hear it's good.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that was that. How was your week? What's going on with you?
Let's start off with the bad, because obviously I didn't play any Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't get to stream because life was chaotic last week. And then on top of that, sick kids. Then I got sick because Jackson had this stomach bug again. And so that just it's just been a rough couple of weeks. with kind of like illnesses kind of going through the house. And anyway, just, not fun. But once we did kind of all get healthy, over the weekend, we went and saw Frozen 2.
Oh, nice.
And I'll just say that I enjoyed the movie, and I think my boys enjoyed the movie, and Brita enjoyed the movie, but I walked out of it kind of a little let down because the first Frozen was so good and had such catchy music that I went, this is good. I enjoyed it. Like a movie on its own, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But I kind of went out, I kind of came out and said, there's not going to be anything that I'm really going to be singing, a year from now. There's nothing I'm really going to remember. I'm going to have to watch the thing like over and over and over and over just to get kind of the music. For me, it was the Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Mary Poppins, great movie.
Sure.
Lots of really, really catchy music that people have been singing for the last 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
But Mary Poppins Returns, I think there's like one song just because my kids sing it occasionally.
Okay.
And it's like the Trip a Little Light, fantastic. And that's it. And I think there's like one song out of the Frozen 2 soundtrack that I think people will be singing. But anyway, it was a good movie. Just,
right.
A little let down. Of course, I've got the Thanksgiving prep going on. So right now, actually on Monday, when we do record, I've got 2 20-pound turkeys in my fridge.
What? How do you have room in the fridge for 2 20-pound turkeys?
Man, I make room for barbecue, Matt.
Boy.
I make room. So I've got these 2 20-pound turkeys, and they're thawing. And tomorrow night, on Tuesday night, I'm going to pull them out, and I'm going to put them in a brine. They're going to sit in a brine for 24 hours till Wednesday night. And then Wednesday night, I'm going to pull them out, rinse them off with cold water, pat them both dry, and then put them uncovered back in the fridge till the morning, kind of try to help them dry up a little bit so that skin will get nice and crisp. And then Thursday morning, they're going on the Traeger. I'm smoking up turkeys.
Love it.
So yeah, I'm a little worried though about the time, because according to the Traeger recipes I'm looking at, it says about 3.5, 4 hours. But these are 20-pound birds.
Yeah, those are huge.
And so it's like, it may be more like 5 or 6 hours. So I'm looking to put them in at like 8 in the morning. And if they're done at noon, they're done at noon. I'll pull them. I'll pull them out and kind of keep them warm, and then we can, warm the one we're actually using on Thanksgiving to eat. We can warm it back up. But if it takes me like 6 hours to smoke it, we're done at 2. That's okay, because I think we're planning to eat like around maybe 3:30.
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Yep.
So we should be fine.
I'm sorry. You have 2 20-pound turkeys. May I ask why? Who is coming over? Andre the Giant?
No. Well, listen, Andrei Romanov is dead, sadly. R.I.P. Andre the Giant.
Yes, certainly.
But it's me, my wife, my 2 kids. It's my brother and his wife and their 4 kids. And then it's my mom and her husband. So it's not a lot of people. Yeah. But I'm only taking 1 turkey over.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm not taking both.
Got it. Okay.
But the issue was like, I went to Costco and it was like 99 cents a pound for a fresh turkey.
Okay.
And, so it's not been pumped with a whole bunch of steroids, and it doesn't have all the, it's not pre-flavored, whatever. So like it'll take a brine really, really, really well. So I figure, why not grab an extra one? Why not smoke it up at the same time? And then I can slice up a whole bunch of turkey that then I can freeze and have portioned out for like lunches for myself, my wife.
I like it.
Because we kind of do that. Like I'll smoke up like ribs. And like, instead of making like a rack of ribs that'll feed just like my family, I'll make 3 racks of ribs and I'll slice up all the others, and I've got stuff for lunches. Same thing with pulled pork. Same thing with brisket. So then I can be like, oh, today I'm going to take some brisket. Tomorrow, chicken. The next day, turkey. The next day, ribs. The next day, pulled pork. Like I can cycle through and I'm not eating the same meat all the time.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay. So, anyway.
That's why.
Makes sense.
So yes, so I got that going on. Yeah, we're going to be making some deviled eggs. So like we're all kind of coming together and bringing some food each.
Yeah.
Not everyone's doing all the one thing. We've been watching The Good Place. We pounded through the first 3 seasons again on Netflix, and now we're into the 4th season, the current season. And I think we're about like halfway through the episodes that are out right now for the 4th season.
Okay.
Just loving that show. Just loving it. So yeah,
Excellent.
that's been my week. Got a lot going on, but not too bad.
Awesome.
Overall.
Very nice.
Yeah. We have some interesting news. So we've been doing these Mandalorian sidekick episodes, having a ton of time. We're getting some great reactions because it went live today, the day of recording, on a Monday for our episode 3. Getting some great reactions, people talking about it, and I'm glad that a lot of our super friends here at the show are waiting until Monday to really talk about it with us, because that makes sure we get a chance to watch it, comment on it, and record about it. So that's been really good. But then the interesting thing is that we've picked up some new super friends. So our super friends, as we say every week, they're out there, they're talking to their friends. But we picked up some new super friends because I've noticed that all of a sudden we're getting downloads going like all the way back to the very, very beginning. So I just want to say this now to the new super friends, to the new listeners. Thank you for giving the podcast a chance. Thank you for listening. If you go back and you listen to all 156 that have taken place before this, and the sidekicks on Stranger Things Season 2, and Black Panther, and just whatever else we've done, that's an undertaking. We are not asking you to do that. By all means, feel free. But if you start with the current episodes and you go forward with us, we're totally cool with that. Matt and I do this podcast weekly. If you go back to the beginning, you're going to hear someone other than Matt. You're going to hear my best friend Steve, who I started the podcast with, and we went for about 62, 63 episodes together, and then he had some family stuff. And then I was on my own with some guest hosts for a little while, and then I found my second co-host, Stu, and Stu and I ran for, probably 50, 60 episodes or so together. And then he had some real life stuff come up and he needed to kind of do his own thing and concentrate on him. And then it was me by myself again. And then Matt. So if you go back and you hear someone other than Matt, I promise, I didn't Matt wasn't hidden or on the side. No hijinks, no shenanigans. It's just the podcast has evolved over time.
I guess I've got a good 30 podcasts left in me before I leave too. So.
Oh, don't say that. You're killing me.
Just kidding,
Your family,
everybody.
Matt. You can never leave.
That's true. I am family. Stuck.
Otherwise, we're going to be the ones having that fight at Thanksgiving.
Oh, no.
How
never.
dare you leave me?
Oh, musical version.
Occasionally, I get a little sing-songy when I
does.
When
anyway,
I get angry.
moving on before something really bad happens. I want to kill something.
You want to kill something?
I want to slaughter something.
Ooh, Matt, that sounds dark.
It's very dirty. Let's get my
dark
hands
and dirty.
red.
Ooh.
With the blood of Bothans.
Oh, Bothans. Never mind. Dude, we can totally kill Bothans.
Let's rip them open. Here we go.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we have taken the corpses of these Bothans that have been ripped open and we've worn their bodies like suits. And it's now time for Rebel Intelligence. What do you have for me this week?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that took a darker turn than even I was expecting. Okay, let's go with something a little lighter. So we talked, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about Netflix and Nickelodeon kind of getting together, making some new content with existing IPs.
Sure. Yeah.
So now some news has come. This is making it even murkier. So now news has come out that Nickelodeon and CBS All Access are getting together on the side. So Nickelodeon's got a couple side chicks going on here, inappropriate.
Really?
So kind of how I understand it and how the article lays it out is you've got the existing IPs with some new content. So they're not going to have a lot of their old stuff. So we don't see SpongeBob or Dora the Explorer or anything on Netflix right now. I think the only one that I've seen is Victorious, which I didn't know until anyway. And now what they're saying is CBS All Access will have access to their back catalog. So we're talking SpongeBob and Dora and other Nickelodeon, cartoons and TV shows that are out there. So it's a little bit muddy. It's a little bit murky. It's a little bit confusing as to what's going to go on which service. And CBS has not clarified. The agreement is we don't know what's going to happen yet, but something's going to happen and it's going to be on CBS All Access. So the only way that I can make sense of this as being a good idea for CBS All Access is if they get SpongeBob SquarePants. That's a big, big get, because that show has been going on for, I don't know, 20 years strong.
Maybe.
It's been on for a very, very long time. And it's a cultural phenomenon as kids continue to grow up and get exposed to SpongeBob. And it's still funny in my 30s when I catch a 5-minute glimpse of it on YouTube or something. It's still funny. Anyway, so that's the news there. Kind of interesting, a little bit different than what anybody else is doing with their intellectual property and allocating it to different streaming services. So,
last week when you talked about the deal with Netflix getting Nickelodeon, I thought we were talking like exclusivity, and I was like, okay, Netflix is coming after the kids stuff, so they're coming after Disney Plus. But now, like, if Nickelodeon's taking content also to CBS All Access, it makes me think, like, Netflix made that announcement to make kind of a big splashy headline.
Right.
But are they really trying to go after the family segment? Yeah. I mean, they're trying to bolster some content, sure.
Right.
But, I mean, apparently it's not exclusivity.
No, it's not. And even, it's still murky on what Nickelodeon's doing with their stuff. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But CBS needs to do something, right? I mean, their streaming services, how much? Like $6 a month or something?
Yeah, I think it's $6 a month.
They don't have, at least in my experience, they don't have a whole lot of stuff. And they're competing with a $6 a month or $7 a month streaming service in Disney Plus that just blows it out of the water completely.
Right.
For everyone. Anyway.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to see how that develops and what kind of happens there.
Yep,
yeah.
Keep an eye on that one.
So I want to talk about Tesla for a moment.
Okay.
So this last week, Tesla at the LA car show, they finally rolled out the prototype of their new electronic vehicle that's going to be a truck, right? And I've got like my former employer, former coworkers that are like big Tesla heads, like they love the Tesla stuff. And they were super excited to see this truck. Like my former boss, the owner of the company I used to work for, he really was planning on getting a Tesla truck. His wife wants a Tesla truck really bad.
Okay.
Then they unveiled the Tesla truck, which they're calling the Cyber Truck. And they use like the logo kind of like Cyberpunk 2077, but it says Cyber Truck. And I went, all right. This thing is a large metal trapezoid on wheels.
Yeah.
It is ugly. UGLY. You ain't got no alibi. This thing is horrible, horrible, horrible looking. And I started like looking at this going like, why in the world? Because like it doesn't look like a truck. In no way does it look like a truck that we're used to seeing. Mm-hmm. It's this weird trapezoid. It's got this like The back bed is like all kind of like one piece and uncovered, and then like it folds down and makes like a little ramp. It's this metal alloy that they're using on the SpaceX ship, the rockets that they're using, and apparently they can't really bend that very well, so it's really angular and flat. And they came out and they said, like, look, this is like literally bulletproof, and they were using this huge hammer to smash against the side of it, and it's not even denting it. And they say that it can stop a 9mm handgun. But then the funny thing was, besides the fact that this thing looks ugly, and it's going to have all these, like, it's going to have problems, and if you want, like, the best version of it, it's like 2.5, 3 years away. They said that they had unbreakable glass windows. And so Elon Musk basically hands this metal ball to this guy. He gets up there and he throws it, hits the first window, cracks it, breaks the window. Like, it doesn't shatter, but it breaks the window, and you can see it just spiderweb.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, okay, well, hit the other window. Like, maybe there's something wrong with it. Breaks the second window.
Oh, man.
This is a live demo, and like they've gone back and they've shown like footage later of like them throwing it against it, but it wasn't exactly the same conditions. It looked like there was like a little bit of a towel or a pad, and the door was kind of open, so it kind of took some of the shock. Maybe, like, why would you not test that in a real life environment before you put it out on the showroom floor?
Yeah, that's a problem.
And then they talked about, like, hey, it can outpull a Ford F-150, it can drag an F-150, and so they had footage of that, and, like, they're just showing off all the tech specs. And, like, from a technical perspective, this thing is a beast. Yeah. It is a monster. Like, the high-end one can do, like, 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. It can go 500 miles on a full charge. Wow. It'll be able to carry 3,500 pounds and tow up to 1,400 pounds.
Jeez.
Like, from a technical perspective, this thing is a beast. It's a tank. Like, it's amazing. From an aesthetic perspective, ooh, wow, yeah. It is bad looking.
Ugly.
Just bad looking. So if you super friends were interested in the world of Tesla and what Elon Musk, that crazy mastermind genius that he is, because he does come up with some like really crazy, weird stuff, but then some amazing things, and they all kind of work. And if you were expecting a classically idealized truck, but in an EV form, this is not it. This thing looks like the Warthog from 2001's Halo game.
Oh my gosh, it does.
It does. Mount a cannon, like open up the little back end, mount big like a Gatling gun up there. That's what it is.
Man. It totally does. That's perfect. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, like the interior looks horrible. It's
yeah, it's not great.
It's not great.
No, it's not great. Let's
I don't want one.
I wouldn't. I don't want one either. I would like a Tesla, but I don't want the Tesla truck. That's for sure.
The Cybertruck.
The Cybertruck, whatever. It's hideous.
Anyway,
and that's funny.
Yeah.
Let's move back to I should say Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Frozen 2 has had the biggest global debut of any animated film this year and forever. Biggest ever. Biggest
ever so far.
So far. So, and this is international, mind you. International box office numbers. And What's interesting is, so the worldwide global total was 350.2 million.
Right.
The international market brought in 223.2 million of that. So when you compare it to a movie like Star Wars, which struggles in certain markets, people are not interested. In America, it's massive here. US, right. Canada, UK, all that, right? It's massive. It's a big deal. And most of the money that on that debut weekend is going to come from here.
Right.
Frozen. Daggum, man. People like it all over the freaking world.
Yep.
It said it debuted in 37 countries. $223 million of the 350 came from outside the States.
I told this to Brita as we walked out. I said, and I think I even talked to my brother Josh about it too. I said, I think this movie's going to make a lot of money. I really do. But like, it was only like 123 million domestic.
Right.
in the U.S. on its opening weekend. Now, thankfully, this upcoming weekend is the Thanksgiving weekend, so it'll probably have a really good second week just because of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
However, I think after that, I think it's going to fall off pretty fast. And the reason I say that is when the first movie came out, man, they were pumping that Let It Go song before the movie came out all over the place. Everyone had heard that song prior to that movie. The movie came out, it was really good. It had some other really catchy songs. And I don't think this has it. I don't know that families and kids are going to want to go back and see this over and over and over again like they did Frozen.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think it'll have a good second week just because of the Thanksgiving holiday, which it was, great job on the marketing department to release it at this time, a week before Thanksgiving. So you're still going to get that Thanksgiving bump. But I think after that, I think it falls off pretty fast.
I can see that happening. I mean, I remember when Frozen came out, I bought tickets the day they were available to be purchased. I don't know why. I was really excited for this movie. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I was single. This is like, I was just working after college, and I was like, calling my friends, who wants to see this? Of course, none of my guy friends had any interest. I said,
right.
You'll be sorry someday. This feels special. And it's still one of my favorite animated movies of all time. I really, really like Frozen. I really like it a lot. But this one, I don't find myself caring all that much.
Have you seen it?
Frozen 2?
Yeah.
No. And I probably won't.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, are you going to see it in the theater?
No. Yeah. I just don't. My kids are not old enough to go yet. Lando's too young to do anything.
Sure.
It's too much of a hassle to try and get a babysitter, I feel like sometimes. And I just not interested when I can...
Wait for it to come to Disney Plus?
Wait for it to come to Disney Plus, or... I don't know. I mean, with Star Wars coming out, I already know I'm going to see a movie in a couple of weeks, so it's not worth doing it again. I'm probably in the minority of moviegoers. I don't know. I don't see a lot of movies. I see the big ones. I go maybe 3 times in a year to the movies.
So we actually purchased tickets for the Friday after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. And then, because we were going to go see it this last Friday night, but Jackson had been sick that morning, so we decided not to go. And then on Saturday, we're like, you know what? Jackson's healthy. Let's go see it now.
Yeah.
And so we got tickets. I still have tickets for Friday, for this upcoming Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And I told Brita tonight, I said, you know what? Let's just return those tickets. I was like, I don't think we need to go back and see it again.
Yeah.
The kids aren't asking to go back and see it. Like, if the kids were like, let's go back, let's go watch it again.
Right.
Okay. We already have the tickets, we might as well. But now it's kind of like, the kids aren't asking for it. I don't need to go see it again. Let's get a refund and get our money back.
Yeah.
I'd rather go see something else. I want to go see that Ford versus Ferrari movie.
There you go.
Like, I'd like to go check that out.
Yeah.
I'd like to buy another ticket or two to go see Rise of Skywalker, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I'm glad it made a lot of money and it broke records. I just wonder... what the longevity is going to be on this thing in the theater. I think overall with Disney Plus and the streaming and the home retail video market, it's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Just
we'll see.
In the theater.
We'll
see.
I can agree with that. I can agree. Anyway.
All right, so I got something here for you.
Okay.
A little while ago, we found out that how to put this? It seemed like the cast of the reboot of the Star Trek franchise, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, all those, that there was some disagreements over contracts and this, that, and the other, and that series kind of got shelved. And then we heard talks that Quentin Tarantino was going to be making a Star Trek movie, but that he wanted to do a harder, edgy, hard R Star Trek, which to me just does not sound like Star Trek at all.
Yep.
But apparently there's now news that's being reported that it's back in talks, that they're in final talks. Paramount is with Noah Hawley, who recently directed FX's Legion, directed Fargo and the feature film Lucy in the Sky. And he's going to write and direct the 4th Star Trek film, kind of in the J.J. Abrams reboot world. And that they're looking to bring back pretty much the entire cast, including Chris Hemsworth, who plays, Captain Kirk's father. And so it's still a little early, but it's interesting to me that they're talking again about doing another movie in this franchise, because those 3 movies made decent money. They were good Star Trek movies and should definitely be seen. But it looks like Paramount's really trying to get this rolling again. And honestly, right now in the Star Trek world, all Paramount has going for it is, Discovery, and then the soon-to-come-out Picard series. In the movie part of it, they haven't done anything since that last one. Star Trek, was it?
Into Darkness?
Into Darkness was the second one. I'm just going to blank it now.
Star Trek, the third one.
Yeah, Star Trek Part 3. So, I don't know. I'm excited to hear that there's some movement again, that it could come back, because I really, really did like the reboot and the whole Kelvin timeline. I don't know. Are you much of a big Star Trek guy? Or are you one of those, I'm Star Wars, not Star Trek, so I kind of stayed away from the other?
No, I really liked the reboot from J.J. Abrams. I don't know anything about the history of Star Trek. I never was into it when I was younger. I've never seen much. I saw the Borg one. Whatever
First
that
Contact.
one was. Yep, saw that one. I liked that movie.
First Contact is good.
But the reboot got me interested. I really liked the reboot. I like Chris Pine, to be just completely honest. I'm a big fan.
I would recommend, just for historical purposes, go back and watch all the Star Trek movies. Start at the beginning. Just know that the first movie, Star Trek the Motion Picture, it was made in the late 70s. It's slow. It's kind of a slog, but it has its moments visually and with the score. But then Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, my former co-host Stu's favorite movie of all time, one of my tops. It was a different director, Nicholas Meyer, and he really kind of turned the way Star Trek was on its head a little bit, made it a little more militaristic, and by doing that gave it a little more structure. That movie's fantastic. The 3rd movie's good. The 4th movie's fantastic. The 5th movie's kind of okay. And then the 6th movie's good. And then you have Generations that bridge the gap between the original cast and the Next Generation cast. Then First Contact you've seen. And then Insurrection and... Insurrection and... Oh, gosh, I can't think of it right now. There's another one. Nemesis. Those ones, Next Generation cast, but kind of shaky, and then the reboots are all great. Okay. So it's something that I'd say, if you like the new stuff, it's good to go back and kind of see where it came from. Right. And there's some cool stories. So yeah. Anyway, I'm excited about the possibility.
Yeah.
I want more details. I want confirmation. But if you're into Star Trek, it looks like there could be a new reboot film on the horizon.
I'm excited for it too. That sounds fun. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end things, I think, here with a very interesting... Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. So I'm just going to
let me ask you this. Okay. Because I think I know what you're going to talk about. Should I hit my last one first?
Yeah, let's hit your last one first. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. All right. The Batman movie. The Matt Reeves Batman movie that we know is coming up, just announced that they're casting John Turturro as Carmine Falcone.
Cool.
Now, John Turturro is a great actor. Could he play Carmine Falcone? Absolutely. What's interesting is he put it out on Twitter, but here's the names of all the people in this thing. I'm starting to get a little worried that we've got too many characters being packed into this. They're like big characters in the Batman world, right? So, like I said, we got Carmine Falcone now by John Turturro. Andy Serkis is playing Alfred. That's fine. Alfred's Alfred. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. So we got the Penguin as a villain. Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon. That's fine. Paul Dano as the Riddler. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. We have 3 Big villains already. Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman. Now we're adding Carmine Falcone, a fourth villain, a mob boss. And then, of course, we got Robert Pattinson as Batman. I'm hoping that... The problem is John Turturro just chews up scenery. He's a great actor. He's so much fun to watch. But it's like, I almost kind of hope that, like, they're putting in some of these extra characters as a way of showing, like, hey, here's where the next few movies are going to go.
Yeah.
And not so much that we're going to jam-pack all these in, because then you get into, like, the Spider-Man 3 syndrome, where you had 3 villains, and it gets really complicated. So now it's like, we got 4 of Batman's, like, nemesis. Obviously, we don't have the Joker, but Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman, and now Carmine Falcone. It's just, It just seems like a lot. I'm a little worried. I'm a little nervous.
It does seem like a lot. I don't know how you make that work. We'll find out if it works.
We will find out. Apparently, the targeted release date is June 25th of 2021. That's not official, but that's the targeted release date.
Okay.
All right. That was the last thing that I had that was okay. Now you can go ahead and trigger me, Matt.
So the way I came across this was my buddy Charles, who we got to have on the podcast one of these times. He worked for Marvel, worked for Activision, Bungie. He is a big Star Wars fan. He and I grew up together, long story short. Anyway, he sent me a text with this quote and this link, so I'm just going to... So, Kathleen Kennedy was asked by Rolling Stone if the final entry in Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy was a particularly hard nut to crack, blah, blah, blah. She responded, every one of these movies is a particularly hard nut to crack. There's no source material. We don't have comic books. We don't have 800-page novels. We don't have anything other than passionate storytellers who get together and talk about what the next iteration might be.
Yeah.
So Kathleen Kennedy is basically saying Star Wars is really hard, you guys, because we don't have anything to go off of other than what George Lucas did with the first 6 movies.
So here's the thing. I'm going to jump in here. Here's the thing. Originally, when George came up with the ideas for the movies, he didn't have comic books or books to pull off of.
Right.
Like that's the thing, like with original movies, original stories, like there's no source material. Someone comes up with a concept and an idea, and then they build the story around that, and then they fill it in with characters and places and locations and names and details. And then they find a way to pull these things together and, have the plot work and have, beats that, kind of have to hit to try to move the narrative and get emotion in the right places. And that's the creative process of creating something new.
Yep.
Now, if Kathleen Kennedy is saying, hey, we're having a hard time because we don't have any source material to pull on, if she's kind of comparing it to like, hey, well, we're getting all these Marvel movies and they've got years and years and years and years worth of comics to pull from, I could see that comparison. The problem for me is this sounds very much like she's just complaining, like, we don't have anything to pull from. This would be easier if we had source material. Well, yes, of course it would be easier if you had source material.
Right.
However, you have source material. This is like the part that triggers me at this whole freaking thing. Prior to the Disney acquisition, Lucasfilm, LucasArts, there was video games, there was novels, there was comic books, there was tons and tons and tons of stuff. Also, George Lucas gave an outline for the final 3 movies that he liked, that Bob Iger admitted that they bought those ideas. Not necessarily that they were going to use them, but they bought them. He just admitted that, in his biography, saying that, we wanted to grab those ideas, maybe use parts of them, but we weren't contractually obligated to make those. So, whether the ideas were not good enough for movies, there's tons of stuff, but Disney acquires it, and then they say, oh, all this other stuff, all these comics and books that have come, video games, they're no longer canon or extended universe. They're legends.
Right.
Okay. They took a character from the Timothy Zahn books, basically the Thrawn trilogy. They took the character of Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and they put him in Star Wars Rebels. They've taken that character there.
Right.
They basically remade Episode 4 as Episode 7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hearing her, like, I don't know. I try not to get down on Kathleen Kennedy because I think, she's navigating a very hard thing. Like, Star Wars is a huge franchise. You want it to not only live up to the fans' expectations of the franchise, but also to the board of directors. You want these things to make big money. But I mean, this just sounds so disingenuous to say I don't have anything to pull from. Like, I get now we're moving past the Luke, Leia, Han stuff. So a lot of the source material is couched in that kind of group of characters. But like, what about like the Jedi Academy books? What about Knights of the Old Republic, the video game that takes place, thousands of years prior to the Skywalkers? Like, there's still stuff they could use.
There's a ton of stuff that they can use. And I knew that this was going to set you off, and I just wanted to let you have your moment.
Thank you.
This
I appreciate
is ridiculous. I feel that I have defended Kathleen Kennedy a number of times in conversation with people. And I thought, let's just give her a chance. Like, we're still kind of at the beginning. We're trying to navigate it. She gave us some great stuff. She gave us Rogue One, which is just an all-timer. I mean,
yep.
Solo, I love all of the stuff they put out, honestly.
I think Solo's a great movie on its own.
Yeah, and
the problem is fitting it into whatever else that it kind of needed to fill into.
Honestly,
it just wasn't.
It should have been a series. That would have made an incredible series, and they should make a series based on that show. In my opinion, get the actors back, Darth Maul, get everybody involved. Long story short, okay, whatever. Anyway, this was kind of the final straw for me of like, okay, I can no longer defend you.
Yeah,
I'll say you're trying your best or whatever, but I can't defend you anymore. This is I can't.
It's just a lie.
It is just a lie. There is so much material out there, so much Star Wars, so much stuff. How are you just completely so? I can imagine people like Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, just going, what did she just say? She said what now? Excuse me?
Right.
Like, I'm Dave Filoni, and I know everything about Star Wars. I've read all these novels. I've played all the video games, and I've proven I can insert them in organic ways and make them awesome characters like he did with Thrawn.
Right.
Thrawn is a bad A.
Yep.
He's a genius. So cool. I wish he was in a... Anyway, she's an idiot. I hate to say it. I wish that this wasn't the case, but it is. I'm just baffled. Anyway...
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems so disingenuous. And I know, with the recent announcement of D.B. Weiss and David Benioff leaving and like not knowing where they're going to go, like, Kathleen, take the game Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Make that a trilogy movie series. You have all new characters. In the established world, you're going to have Jedi, you're going to have Sith, you're going to have bounty hunters, you're going to have all the things that Star Wars fans are going to know, but you get to tell those stories in a way that you choose to tell it.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be beholden to like, well, we've got to fit this character. There's no characters in the current franchise movies that will make an appearance in that movie, and that's totally okay. The Mandalorian is a shining example of original storytelling in the universe that is not going to rely on pre-existing characters.
Right.
I don't get how she's complaining that it's hard to make these movies. I get it. The big trilogy ones are going to be hard, but like going forward, this shouldn't be hard.
No,
just have a sit down with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Just have a sit down, talk with them for a little while. I guarantee they've got probably 8 to 10 workable ideas right now.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's a hard one, Matt.
We'll just leave it there because we could talk about this as our discussion.
Yep, but and that's not what we're discussing tonight. No.
We're not discussing that tonight. It's Thanksgiving. A happy day full of love and family and thankfulness.
Yep. So let's move on. I'm done with Rebel Intelligence. That was your last thing too, right?
Yep.
Okay. So last week, Super Friends, we talked about the Disney Plus streaming service. And we graded it. Matt gave it a C-. I gave it a C. And we asked you your thoughts on the streaming service itself, not the content, because we both agree that the content is grade A, top notch. But the streaming service and some of the issues it had. Man, I don't know what's going on there.
That's okay.
Anyway, we wanted to hear from you. And so here's your turn. So we're going to start over on email like we always do, fortofnerd@gmail.com, and we got Peter Christensen. Peter says, Dear nerds, buckle up, lots to say this week. First, The Mandalorian is making me excited about Star Wars in a way I haven't been since pre-early Phantom Menace or right after Rogue One.
Wow, nice.
Which is kind of true. I kind of get that sentiment, right? Before, especially... Sorry, Matt, but especially for those of us that are a little older that had to wait since 1983 to get another movie, and that didn't happen until 99, the excitement was really, really high pre-Phantom Menace.
Right.
Then things changed. And right after Rogue One, the excitement, through the roof. Peter goes on and says, I don't think there's a chance that anything new from The Mandalorian will be in Rise of Skywalker, although it would be fun to see Kylo Ren fight a Mudhorn. Fun fact, Brian Posen, the comedian playing the speeder pilot, has a great bit about how he looks like he's made of farts. He was also one of the developers to present Meow Meow Beans in Community.
All-timer.
Yep, how about that? Grief Karga is a perfect, stupid Star Wars name and an insult to Apollo Creed, Chubbs Peterson, and Combat Carl. I didn't remember the ice cream maker from Empire Strikes Back. We were calling it a crock pot full of treasure and making tasteless jokes about This Is Us.
Ooh.
I haven't seen This Is Us.
But I know.
I understand, the crock pot thing, right? Yeah. After the heavy infantry Mandalorian and Baze Malbus, why aren't backpack-fed Gatling machine guns more popular? Right.
Great question.
He says, I think the sin is both delivering Baby Yoda and then stealing him back. I have spoken. Second, a bunch of rapid-fire responses. Reminder, Spencer, don't forget to watch Jack Ryan Season 2. It's in the queue. As soon as I'm done with The Good Place, that's next. I watched all 6 so far episodes of C on Apple Plus. It's beautifully shot. The way they imagine a blind society is very clever, and it's pretty fun watching Jason Momoa kill dudes. Kill lots of dudes. For the next incarnation of X-Men, recasting Wolverine will be the most thankless acting gig since young Han Solo.
Yeah.
True. The X-Men First Class recasting of Professor X and Magneto had the advantage of being 30 years younger, but Wolverine won't have that excuse. We rewatched Tangled this week on Disney+. That is a great Disney movie, maybe one of the best looking and fun and possibly my favorite Disney movie. We got a new TV, and it was a great showcase for the bigger screen. Also, we came up with a theory that the Stabbington brothers are older brothers to Hans from Frozen. He had 12 brothers, so some of them had to go bad. Rewatched Avatar, also showing off the TV. Despite being 10 years old, that movie would be the most visually striking and impressive movie if you released it unchanged in 2019. I'm looking forward to the next decade of Avatar sequels. I could pick Coke from Diet Coke from Coke Zero correctly 100 times out of 100 times. I'm a Diet Coke man, but Coke Zero will do in a pinch.
Okay.
I don't think I could. I know you're all up in that Coke world, Matt, but yeah, I couldn't. Yeah. It says, I watched season 4 of Man on the High Castle. It was a good conclusion to the show, and I wanted pretty much every character to die and also to win. Everyone had a complex story and understandable motivations. I love shows that do that. that, you root for him and you don't. It's like certain characters in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted Jaime Lannister to succeed, but also you didn't at the same time. On the discussion of Disney Plus, I disagree with your evaluations of its launch. Here's my 2 cents. Well, more like 25 cents. From my perspective as a software developer. When developing new products, a company has to address market risk and technical risk. Launching Disney Plus is almost entirely market risk. Will people want it? Will they choose it over or in addition to Netflix, Prime, Apple Plus, Hulu, etc.? Can they scale up subscribers to match the tens of billions they have spent on content this decade? I would say they nailed the market risk. They have a show that everyone's talking about. They have an inexhaustible library that will keep subscribers hooked. They got it out before the holiday shopping heats up. They're on every platform they need to be, and they have partners pushing subscriptions. We got ours through Verizon, for example. There's very little technical risk for them. There are many video streaming services developed by a number of companies, so there was no new ground to break. The hardest part is serving a good stream, and I would say that is the biggest technical strength of the service. The other things like remembering your position in a playlist, rewinding, etc., while annoying in their absence, ultimately doesn't matter. If they'd finished all these features, but you had to wait until February to see The Mandalorian, would you make that trade? Or, if the subscriber based 10 months behind schedule because they missed the holidays and it slowed their investment in programming. Software is hard and takes forever. At global, low latency scale, everything is harder and each little feature can take months to years of engineering time, only some of which can be parallelized. Netflix's streaming client was actual donkey trash when it launched, and they couldn't even hold a stream on a home internet connection, and this was watching on a PC, not a TV. But by 2019, Netflix has probably spent 250,000 engineering years of work developing their platform. By contrast, the missing features from Disney Plus can be added with a straightforward, low-risk application of engineering time. The prioritization decisions and launch quality and timeline give me great confidence in the people running Disney Plus. I give the service overall an A, and the tech side of it a B+. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Wow.
So, I actually read his email ahead of time, internalized it, read it again before the podcast, and I actually think Peter has turned me around a little bit. Not completely, but a little bit, because he does make some really good points in the fact that, like, Disney was making a huge investment into their Disney Plus streaming service, and they're putting a lot of money behind it. They were gonna have to make sure that they got the big things right. Does it, when it's running, does it stream? Like, are they having lag issues? Are, like, all that stuff? And, some of the, like, the little things about the, the rewind stuff. Yes, it's all UI stuff. Yes, it's all features that should have been launched, in my opinion, at the beginning. And it makes for a not as pleasant experience. But they were looking at maybe the bigger picture. Is the ability to not, to have to rewind through a show going to turn off subscribers? No. I really don't think so.
They didn't think so either, apparently.
They didn't think so. Yeah, they didn't think so either. But he also makes a good point. Like, Matt, like, if Disney had came out and said, listen, we're close, but we don't have a continue watching section, and in order to rewind, you got to rewind through the whole episode. There's not like a resume play feature
right
out of the gate. Would you like us to wait 3 more months to get that ready, or do you want The Mandalorian today? What would you choose?
Of course I would choose today. However, I don't feel like that's a good argument at all.
Really?
No. They should have it. If it's like, I don't understand, I guess. Like, of course everyone's going to say that, but those are features that just should be had, bar none. That is the, like, minimum requirement to have these things, in my opinion. And I think an everyday streamer would agree with that. So I mean, it's like, it's I don't know. I just don't feel like that's a very good argument to make. Like, why isn't it ready at launch when you're going to have
why
it?
do we have to choose one versus the other?
That doesn't make sense. Why are they putting themselves in that position? If the product's not ready, then it's not ready. I don't know. It seemed weird. And like, I get, okay, they're behind schedule or something. I can still grade them based on that.
Sure.
And I'm not from software,
absolutely.
so I don't, I mean, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo and a lot of things that, of course, we don't understand. It should be ready. They're professionals. That's my opinion. And I'm hard on Disney because I expect Disney to be like Apple. I expect it to be the best, the fastest, and the most expensive. Thankfully, Disney was not the most expensive this time. But I expect to have a near perfect experience out of the box. And I was disappointed because Disney did not give me that this time.
I do like, though, what Peter does say here, where he says, software's hard.
Sounds like Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, yeah, except they had a roadmap. They could copy other people's stuff.
Yeah.
No, but I get that, right? Like, software development, it's one of those things where, I mean, I work with some software developers. They go to fix one problem, and depending on how the code was written, they could fix one problem and create 6 other problems.
Sure.
Minor problems, maybe, but then they got to go fix that. And so, like, there's unintended consequences sometimes. And so I get that, like, maybe from Disney's standpoint, they could be like, well, we're working on this. It's not quite ready. If we try to push this feature, it breaks a bunch of these other things, and it causes more problems. Yep. So let's push it without this feature. We can get it out there. We can get the subscribers. We can get the money rolling in and buy us a little bit of time, you know, to get this going versus like, hey, we lost a lot of goodwill because we kept delaying. And everyone's like freaking. We were supposed to have The Mandalorian 6 months ago.
Right.
So there's some of that too.
I agree.
The business decisions could have taken some effect there as well.
Yep.
But
yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Moving on.
Anyway,
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter, for your response.
Though I disagree, I love that you always respond. I love it. It's awesome.
Let's roll over to Facebook, which is facebook.com/ForwardOfNerd. Caleb Albers says, I didn't think I was going to like having Disney Plus, but so far, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. As for giving it a grade, I'm sitting around a C-.
Yeah.
For my grade to go up, I'm going to need a better watch list, a continue watching feature, and an easier way to find shows and movies. My biggest gripe is that when I'm trying to watch Avengers Assemble, I have to scroll all the way down to the M's because it's classified as Marvel's Avengers Assemble, and that's super annoying.
That sucks.
We didn't actually really talk about the
search functionality.
It's functionality.
Not good.
It could use improvement.
It's not good. I do like how they group things together, though, that I can view it. If I feel like, man, I'm in a Star Wars mood, I can just click Star Wars and it gives me every bit of Star Wars, you know, or for Emmy, it's Winnie the Pooh. They have a Winnie the Pooh collection. When I type in Winnie, I can see all of the Winnie the Pooh stuff, so she can kind of choose what she wants. So I do like that. That is something that the other competitors, at least that I've noticed, they don't have that. So that's cool. Anyway.
Let's go over to Instagram, Forward of Nerd on Instagram. Jim Wendelborn says, C-. The lack of a continue watching section on the homepage is a big miss. Additionally, I thought they'd added a resume play function on the series page, but it's still not working well. It resets to a seemingly random previous episode of a series and still does not give any indication on the episode thumbnail whether the episode has been watched. The Play Next episode feature also seems buggy on my Roku TV.
Totally.
It will often freeze and reset the television instead of moving on to the next episode of Clone Wars. These are basic, must-have features that should have been added before release.
I'm on this.
I really appreciate Jim's response, and I'm with him on a lot of these things, like the being able to see on the thumbnail.
Yes,
you're maybe partway through it or you finish that, like that. I love that feature on other streaming services. It's great. It's a great quick visual little hit. Oh, yep. No, I've seen this one. Here's the one I'm on. In case you binge watch and you watch like 6 of them in a row, and so you don't get the titles of which one, you don't know which episode, that helps, right?
Yep.
I will also say that Jim was the first person to message me and say, hey, the resume play feature is kind of back.
Yes,
so like, for instance, I'm watching Star Wars Rebels right now. And if I go to the Star Wars Rebels page, which I have to like click on the Star Wars section so I can get to it, and then scroll over to Rebels and then click Rebels, then right there on the series page, it'll say like, play next episode or resume playing. There's a little button. It'll kind of show me which episode, and I can hit it, and that works. That wasn't there when it launched. It wasn't there when we recorded last week and talked about it. So that has come back. That's helpful, but I really think they need a continue watching section on the home splash screen.
Yep, I agree. And the resume functionality is buggy. It doesn't always work, and it doesn't show me which episode I'm on my iPad at least. So everything you said is something I've noticed this week as well. It's like they're slowly improving it and rolling things back out and updating things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And Peter can sympathize and empathize with all of the software engineers trying to make this work for us, and thank you for working overtime, because it is nice to have kind of a functionality with the resume watching when I get to the series page.
Yep. I also think that they're doing this in an interesting way. Instead of trying to like really highlight some of the negatives and some of the services, like when they brought back the resume watching feature, they just kind of silently released it. I don't know that they made a big like announcement like, hey, this isn't what you're completely asking for, but we've reinstituted this or put this in. They just kind of released it.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. It feels to me like they're just trying to plug holes with their finger, and just seeing what sticks, because it's still buggy and it's not what we want yet. And so they're just kind of like, okay, maybe this will work for now. And they put like a tissue in it, and then the water's continuing to come through. Part of me,
Matt, says like, I would like to see like, a developer response saying like, hey, we've addressed these bugs, like, a bug fix report.
Yeah.
But then also part of me is kind of like, hey, it's freaking cool when all of a sudden you just turn the service back on and like all of a sudden that feature's there. Like, oh, it's like a Christmas present that you weren't expecting. I don't know.
When the continue watching shows up on the splash page, I'm going to text everybody in the whole world. And I'm going to say, we've done it, you crazy SOBs, we've done it.
Yes. Anyway.
Moving on.
Thank you, Jim, for your response. Okay. This is... also on Instagram, Stephanie J. Stapleton. This is my sister-in-law. My brother Josh's wife. Josh has been a frequent guest host here on the Fortress of Nerditude. She says, A+. We have loved it. Love being able to have all the classics from when I was a kid, and the new content is the bomb. I saw this response. I actually called her and said, I just want to clarify, we're actually talking about the streaming service, not the content, though, to make sure like you're still okay. And she's like, nope, I stand by it. And she said that they actually haven't seen any of the technical issues that we were talking about.
Yeah, she's watching movies. She doesn't care about the resume watching or the series stuff or what's on her splash page, because she's just... sounds to me like she's probably just watching Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast and having a great time.
So I was thinking about that too, Matt, right? Because if you did watch a movie and you watched it start to finish...
yeah, who cares?
You're right, because a lot of these issues do stem from the series issues, like the, not being able to see... I mean, some of the things, right? Not being able to play the next episode automatically, it locking up, you having to go back out and then pick the next episode. Like, you wouldn't see that in a movie. You'd play the movie once, it would play all the way through, and you'd be done.
Yep.
The other thing is, too, is that we have talked about how some people, depending on which device they use, have had different experiences. So, like, I told you, like, my tablet, for some reason, has this issue when it goes to the next episode. It locks up, and I got to back out and then choose the next episode. But right now on my Apple TV, on the main TV, most of the time it'll just play the next one. Occasionally it won't, and then I got to go, like, click the next button, and then it will.
Yeah.
So, like, depending on what you're using, and which platform you're using it from, you could have a different experience.
Yeah.
And like you said, if they're just watching movies and not watching like full series, it's not a problem. Also, like if you're just, and I know they're watching The Mandalorian, if you watch The Mandalorian, those come out one a week.
Yeah.
So if you're watching it live and you're not like behind and trying to binge it, you wouldn't see some of that stuff either.
Right.
Because it would just be there.
Yep.
So I'm glad she's enjoying the content. I think we all agree, hands down, the content is king. The content is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that I would agree with her, though, on the A+ as far as the service at launch.
No.
Content, yes, A+. Service for me is not an A+.
Agreed.
Let's go over to Twitter. We got a couple responses over there. Paul Calico at pcalico84. He says, so at first, it's an A. Then I noticed some features were missing. Start over, resume play, and bookmarking which episode you left on, so went down to a C. Last night, however, those features are there now, so back to an A. Haven't run into the Are You Still There screen yet. That's true. I have not seen the Are You Still There screen. And honestly, I hated that Netflix put that in.
Makes me feel stupid.
It kind of felt like, okay, Netflix, like, you want to make sure that,
you're conserving energy or something. I don't know.
That we haven't fallen asleep, or it's like, man, if I fall asleep, I'll just go back and find which episode I felt. Don't micromanage my binging. Just let me binge.
Yep.
Eric Gifford at Eric Bob G says, I'm giving, by the way, this is our brother.
Yes, he is.
He says, I'm giving it a B-, as there have been some streaming issues that continue into week 2. There are functions you come to expect from streaming that aren't up yet, and navigation for some of the deeper, non-Disney content is underdeveloped, like they're hiding it. Which is interesting because, like, if you do want to find some of like the older movies that they said are available on day one and that they are there, you really got to dig pretty deep to find it.
Yeah.
So once again, I think the search functionality kind of hurts them a little bit there.
I agree.
Let's go on. Veronica at Ronnie Roo Boo says, I'll give you an A when the Big Green is available next year. Right now, you're at a B.
The Big Green is a classic. When I saw that was going to be on the service at all, I was like, oh, yes, now we are talking.
I saw this tweet. And thank you, Veronica. I've never seen you respond before, so thank you for responding. We appreciate that. Welcome. I saw that and I went, what is the Big Green? I'd never seen this movie before. Also, I think the movie came out in like 95 or 96.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so at that time in my life, I was junior or senior year in high school. And honestly, unless it was like a big like Disney movie event,
right?
Like Lion King came out in 94
yeah.
when I was like a freshman in high school. And that was a huge thing. Unless it was like Lion King big in 96, like right around that time, because I graduated in 97, like I probably wasn't going to be following some of the, we'll say, more niche Disney films.
Sure.
So I had to look it up and I saw it was like, oh, yeah, that's the kid from the Son-in-Law movie, which is a bad Pauly Shore movie, but I loved it at the time, right? So I think next year when that comes out, I'm going to have to check that out since I've never seen it.
It's so silly. It's so funny. I can't wait there's some good movies that I was excited about, like the Mighty Ducks series of movies will be available next year. I'm really excited about The Big Green, which I'm blown away that they even remembered The Big Green, Rookie of the Year, all these movies. Rookie of the Year is out now, but there's some just classic old sports movies that I watched a lot when I was a kid that are either on it now or will be on it. And it's been a joy to just see that that's even available for me to watch. It's cool.
I agree. Thank you so much, Super Friends, for your answers. It was a lot of fun hearing from you. I'm glad to hear that for the most part, a lot of you are kind of with us, that there's some things that you feel like that need to be fixed, but you are confident. I'm assuming that most of you are probably still watching a lot of Disney Plus and a lot of the content. Brita and I were watching the Imagineering documentary. Awesome. We watched 2 of those. Like, it's amazing. Like, even with all the minor little things that are kind of dragging the service, not the content, the service down, I'm still watching it for the content.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's big.
Agreed.
So, anyway, Matt, we got some new Super Friends that have been joining us.
All right.
We got Super Friends that are answering questions. What can they do this Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving weekend to help us out?
So the first thing you can do is just enjoy your family or your friends, the people around you today. Enjoy the meal. Really pig out. I mean, just go for it. That's what I say. If you're going to go big one day, make that
This
today.
is the day. Yeah.
And really just smother it in gravy. Don't just get a little bit. Just really get it. And enjoy it and smile. And then tell everyone at the table about the Fortress of Nerditude. Bring it up on your phone. Start playing it during dinner. Leave us a great review. And
play the bit where Spencer talks about Kathleen Kennedy. That'll definitely get us some new listeners.
It might, man. There's some haters. Regardless, enjoy your family, for reals. Have fun. And yeah, tell your friends. Continue to respond to us as well. We love engaging with y'all. It's the best part. So thank you.
Yeah. So, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's get serious for a minute, and then we'll get to the real discussion and get goofy.
Okay.
This is Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for?
Oh, man, that's a great question. You know what? It's been a big year for the Shaws. It's been a really big year. A lot of things have happened. But the biggest thing that has happened to us this year that I'm very grateful for is I'm grateful for a wonderful wife and a healthy baby boy. And me too. But this year was all about Lando. And, Jessie is amazing. She's such a great wife. I'm so grateful for her. And so thankful for a healthy little baby boy who is beginning to smile and laugh at us. And a lot of good things happen. But that's the highlight.
Yeah.
How about you?
That's something pretty awesome to be thankful for.
It's great.
For me, I gotta, say, it's going to be very similar. Like, I'm very thankful for my wife. We've been married 10 years now, year in, year out. She puts up and tolerates me. And I'm thankful for that. She's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful mother. I'm thankful for, for two healthy boys that just got a ton of energy. They're crazy, but they make me laugh, and they really do just really light up my world. I'm grateful to be employed and have opportunities to help people in my career. I'm thankful for a home. I'm thankful that I live in a world and in a country that has given me so many opportunities when there's so many people that don't have opportunities. I feel very blessed and very humbled by all the opportunities that I've had and continue to have.
Amen.
And I know a lot of people don't have that. So, so I'm thankful for that. But this being the Fortress of Nerditude, I thought, and you and I talked about this and came up with this idea, which actually was a much harder idea than I thought it would be, that we would talk about a video game, a TV show, and a movie that we're thankful for. Here was my problem. I kept thinking of movies that I loved.
Right.
And favorite movies and video games and TV shows. But to try to think of media, stuff in the nerd pop culture realm that I'm thankful for, that was a little harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was really, really tough because the things I love most I've already talked about on this podcast. In the short duration that I have been a co-host here, I've talked about him constantly. And so I may just mention what I thought initially and then go into an explanation as to why I chose a certain show or movie or video game that I'm thankful for.
Where do you want to start? Video game, TV show, or movie?
Oh, gosh. Let's start with TV show.
Okay. Go.
Okay. The first thing that came to my mind is Community. Everybody knows that. So I'm not gonna I'm gonna get off the Community trail. Though to me, I'm not just thankful for it, it's important to me. The most important to me. But I'm not gonna talk about that because everybody knows that. So what I'm going to say is a TV show that I'm thankful for is The Office. And the reason is not because it's in my top even 5 favorite shows, maybe not even my top 10, is because from what I recall at the time, it was really an introduction into what would soon become a genre of television. The smart, witty, no laugh track, a joke a minute, or a joke a second, kind of comedy, where we would see NBC getting on this single camera comedy train. Because to me, NBC reigns supreme on comedies. It just does. From Community to Parks and Rec to now Brooklyn Nine-Nine that they've kind of picked up, and AP Bio, and they've got all these great shows. And Community or The Office to me kind of paved the path to make that possible. So that's why I chose that one to be thankful for, because I believe that its success has allowed some of my favorite TV shows of all time to exist.
Which is interesting that you choose The Office, because like you got to remember, like back in the 90s, NBC was king of comedy. Thursday night must-see TV, like Friends, Seinfeld. Like it was huge, and then it kind of like had a lull. And I will say, like when The Office came around, like that really did kind of like bring back comedy and introduce a new kind of version of comedy. Like Parks and Rec is a direct response because of The Office.
Absolutely.
Parks and Rec is like one of my favorite comedies. Not my absolute favorite, but like one of my, like it's top 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened without The Office.
Agreed. Now I was trying to, how do you go with what paved the way and what allowed the weird to happen? Because the weird is what I find funny, which is why Community is so great, because of the weird.
Right.
And, but the human element involved in the weird. So yeah, The Office was kind of what it was for me. And of course I would say, I have to mention that Arrested Development did come out before The Office, and truly that was the pioneer, but that wasn't popular at the time. Nobody watched Arrested Development until it had gone off the air.
Right. On DVD, it got like a huge cult following.
Massive. They've gotten 2 seasons on Netflix. So I just had to throw that caveat in there. I like Arrested Development more than The Office. I like Community more than The Office. I like Parks and Rec more than The Office. However, I still feel like The Office is what allowed those things to exist.
And so you're thankful for it.
I'm so thankful for it. Thank you, Steve Carell. Thank you, Michael Schur, for giving me that.
Yep. Greg Daniels, all those people.
Yep.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. I think that's a good TV show to be thankful for.
What do you got?
So my TV show, I was talking with Brita, and Brita's like, Parks and Rec. She's like, hands down, Parks and Rec, it's my favorite. I was like, it's my favorite. Like, I get that. Like, it's one of your favorite comedies. It's like, but thankful for it. So I started thinking, like, how to look at this. And so what I came up with was Survivor. Huh. Now, I love Survivor, but why I'm thankful for Survivor is a little different than kind of the direction you went. But Survivor was a show when it first came out, like, it was seen by like millions and millions of people that first season, and that second season was really big. And the numbers have, kind of come down some, but it still has a loyal, rabid following. But it's a show that I watch with Brita. I introduced her to it. My brother Josh and his wife Steph watch the show. My mom watches the show. I even think my sisters watch the show for a while. I don't know that they necessarily do so much, but we still, on a weekly basis, I will talk with my brother, I will talk with my mom, and we will talk about Survivor, about the, and if you've never seen Survivor, it's, people put on an island to live together, and once every 3 days they have to vote someone off the island. They have competitions. Someone can get immunity. Right. So it's like this social, political, microcosm of life, and the maneuverings and the machinations to like try to get to the end and be claimed the sole survivor and win the $1 million prize at the end. It's very, very interesting. And like this season has brought up, there's, things that have been happening like in the Me Too movement. There was that on the island, on the show. And It's like, it kicked off this whole wave of conversation. And my family, like, we talk about this. It's something that's like a touchstone for us as a family that brings us together on a weekly basis. Even like when my mom lived on the other side of the country, or I was living in Arizona and was away from my brother, like it was something that could bring us together on a weekly basis to at least give us something to talk about, and, kind of break that ice. And then we could talk about other things and family stuff and whatever. But I'm thankful for that show because it's provided my family years and years and years of weekly conversations.
That's awesome.
And I can't think of many other shows that have done that. Like, I did think, The Simpsons way back in the day was a show that my whole family watched together. Yeah. And I remember watching The X-Files in its first season when it was on Friday nights on Fox, and then introducing it to my family, and then it switched to Sunday nights and my family all watched that. But Survivor, it's about 20 years now of weekly conversations for a long, long time. And I think I'm just thankful for that. I like the fact that it's done that for my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go. I like that.
It took me a while, though, Matt, to get to that.
To
kind of get there and think, because I really had to think about it, because, there's lots of shows that I like, but what I'm thankful for. I had to find a reason why I would be thankful for a TV show. Because it kind of sounds silly, right? Like, I'm thankful for a TV show. Like, I should be thankful for the fact that, I have a roof over my head.
Right.
And I am. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But, yeah.
Of course. I like that.
All right.
That's good. Okay, where do you want to go?
Video game or movie? What do you think?
I chose first. You choose now.
I'm going to go video game because I know my video game one's a little heavier. And I want to end on a little bit of a lighter note.
Okay.
So,
video
game. Buckle up. This one's a little hard. So, the year was 2002, and my father had been killed in a car accident, December 6th. And this is like 3 weeks before Christmas. And my dad was the sole provider in my family, and he's just my dad. He had a big, larger-than-life personality. My dad would walk in the room, and, you knew he was there. Not just because he was 6'5" and he was tall and big, but just, he had a big personality. He loved to laugh. He loved to, to be involved and to talk to people. He loved babies and picking up babies and playing with kids, and my dad was just a big kid at heart. And my dad was taken from us. It was an accident. It wasn't like a drunk driver. It was just someone was taking off their coat and putting it in the back seat, and their hand slipped on the wheel, and their car veered out of their lane and hit my dad head on. So, obviously, my family is just wrecked. We're just devastated. We would just sit in a room and we'd be silent for 45 minutes, an hour at a time with no one saying anything. And then one of my sisters would start crying, and then we would all be crying and then trying to comfort each other. It's just, if you haven't gone through something like that, it's very hard to explain. It is just one of the worst things you can go through, losing someone in your immediate family. So, it's shortly after Christmas, and by the way, that Christmas was a miserable Christmas. It was not a happy Christmas. Yeah. I had a 17-year-old sister who was going to turn 18, a week and a half after Christmas, and I had a 12-year-old sister still at home. So, we were trying to make Christmas as normal as possible for them, but it just wasn't. Yeah. It was just an absolute dark time in the Stapleton family. But after Christmas, my brother and I don't remember whose it was, maybe it was his, we set up a Nintendo GameCube on our main TV, and we were playing Mario Kart Double Dash. And my sisters came in, and we decided to play a multiplayer mode called Shine Thief. And basically, that was at the time, it was right after Mario's, what was that, Sunshine?
Yeah.
Super Mario Sunshine. And there was this little thing called a shine sprite, and it kind of looked like a little sun, and you would try to find these in that game. But they had a version in Mario Kart Double Dash called Shine Thief, where basically there'd be like a little shine sprite in the middle of like the map. You'd all start on the outer edges and you'd race towards it. And then the person that would pick it up, there would be a counter and it would start counting down from 60 seconds. And if you had the shine sprite at the end of the 60 seconds, you won. Now, if someone knocks into you really hard or shoots you with a turtle shell, the shine sprite disconnects from you and it can be picked up by someone else. It adds a few seconds on and then it keeps ticking down again and again and again. However, if you're sub 10 seconds left on the match, every time you get hit, it would toss like another like 4 or 5 seconds on. Or if you were like sub 3 seconds, it would toss like 10 seconds back on. Because it's trying to make it competitive enough that, you know, someone could hit you, you'd be knocked out. It's not like, boom, they pick it up, it's 1 second, and then it's over.
Yeah.
It tosses some time back on, gives you a chance to kind of get back in. We played a game, no joke, that went on for like an hour and a half. We were just all coming in, and we started laughing. And we were hooting and hollering, and we're like, no, come on. You know, we were into it. And it was this short window in a very, very dark period where we'd forgotten about what was going on. It was an escape for us. We were having fun. We were laughing. There hadn't been laughter in the house since December 5th.
Yeah.
There'd been no laughing. There'd been no levity. There'd been nothing but kind of doom and gloom. Just, you know, dark, oppressive, oppression, depression. Like it felt like freaking a rain cloud had just like hovered over just our house.
Right.
And in that moment, playing that game, it was like a beam of light. It just hit us and warmed our souls. And it was just this moment with a video game that it's just trying to describe. It's hard, like,
right.
Because I'm trying to do my best, but like the way it all touched us emotionally was so impactful. And for me, I'm thankful for Mario Kart Double Dash, and I'm thankful that at that moment and at that time, we were all where we needed to be, and that video game was where it needed to be because we needed that, and it helped us from that moment on. Because then we said, well, let's play that again, like, you know, a day or two later. And it really started the healing process. Now, the healing process obviously took a long time, but that moment started that. And so I'm thankful for Mario Kart Double Dash.
That's awesome.
I told you it was a little heavy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's heavy. I'm trying.
Death and video games.
Yeah, that is heavy, but that's cool. I like that. You should go around and tour to all the haters of video games who think it's a waste of time and it's not an art form and whatever else they want to say. Yeah, because video games can be powerful. My example is not powerful like that. My example is from the best Christmas of my whole life. And 1996 is the year.
Okay.
And it's, I want to say it's probably November. And my dad says, oh, guys, I know you've heard about this Nintendo 64. I rented one, but I got to return it tonight. And let's play it and let's just mess around. So he's like, and I rented 2 games. I rented Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey.
Okay.
And Super Mario 64. Ooh, and it was like the best, 4 hours of my little life at that point. It was amazing. Come to find out, Christmas morning rolls around and we get a Nintendo 64 and those games. And It happens to be that my dad had already purchased it and he didn't rent it at all, and he just wanted to see it because
he just couldn't wait.
It was a technological revolution at the time to see a 3D gaming, and he was like, I got to see this. And I my dad's kind of that way. Like your father, I think, a big personality. When he's in the room, lots of laughter, silly guy. And and then playing Super Mario 64, it was hard to pick. I knew it had to be on Nintendo 64 because Nintendo 64 was at a pivotal point in my life. I was young. It was not my first gaming system. That's not true at all. I had Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. However, this is when I was maturing through high school and stuff. And anyway, there was a lot of games to choose from, but Super Mario 64 kept coming back because I remember the first time seeing Mario in 3D and just being so blown away that I could run in any direction that I wanted, that the little Lakitu with the camera was just going to follow me around, and how cool I thought that was. And all the little secrets and Easter eggs that had never been done. It was almost like an open world game before we even knew what that was. That there was a hub and that you could stomp on the brown like pegs in the moat and that would make it drain, and then that would cause something else to happen. And that game to me was so magical, and it was this really cool point in my life where we'd all play video games together, but it wasn't just multiplayer games. We'd watch each other play the single player games, and we'd talk through Ocarina of Time, and we'd talk through Super Mario 64 and how to beat it. And it was the best Christmas ever. And that's why that one is what I'm thankful for. It really turned me on to gaming and puzzle solving, and it brought me so much joy at the time. And I've gone back and played it in recent years, and it's still a great game. Frustrating at moments because the camera is just trash.
Yep.
But industry changing. That game.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, there's lots of things to choose from, but that was the one that I kept coming back to as a game that I'm thankful for.
That's awesome. I like that. That is definitely a good game, a good system at the time, and a good reason why.
Yeah, good memories.
All right, so the last one, movie. What do you got for movie?
So mine's a little heavier this time. Not that heavy though. My favorite movie, not my favorite movie. It's not my favorite movie. The movie that I'm most thankful for is Miracle.
The Miracle on, like the Miracle on Ice, the hockey one? Okay, yeah.
Disney
it's a great movie.
One with Kurt Russell.
Yep.
And this is why. High school's hard for everybody, right?
Sure.
And there's a lot of darkness in high school. I had a great time. I loved high school. It was awesome. But no matter how happy you are, you still have darkness, and there's still things you're trying to sort through and work through. And I was no different than any other high schooler, right? It was hard. And I had a job I didn't love, and I was working at Panera Bread. And every single day, I can still see myself in my bedroom after work. It's like 10 p.m. I've got a salad. And every single day, I would fall asleep watching Miracle. And to this moment, I can't pinpoint any one reason as to why that movie resonated with me so much, but it was like putting on a warm jacket or laying in bed with just the most cozy blanket, and it allowed me to sleep when I was so anxious and stressed or depressed or worried or whatever was going on in my life. I could put on Miracle in my bedroom and just fall right asleep. I don't know. It to me, that movie will always be special. I know every line.
Such a good movie.
I have seen that movie. I've seen Star Wars a lot of times. I've seen Lord of the Rings a lot of times. I have seen Miracle more than all of those movies combined times 2.
Wow.
I mean, it was every night. And there was something comforting. And ever since then, Kurt Russell is like one of my favorite actors. I don't care what else he's been in.
Right.
His portrayal of Herb Brooks, it makes me feel. The movie makes me feel. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. It's special to me. And
Disney knows how to do those sports movies.
They really do. They're the best. They do. Anyway, so that one to me is just really, really special. So I'm really thankful because it helped me get through some I don't know, some tough times, some dark years, times, yeah. A lot of darkness. And it's important to me. I love that movie. Love it.
That's awesome. I like that, Matt. That's a good one. My movie, which, gosh, this one was hard for me for a while. Because I lots of movies that I love. Like, I could have easily said, like, Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
But that's my favorite movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'm thankful for that. I mean, I'm thankful that I love it.
Yeah.
Right. But so I started thinking about, maybe like a movie that my dad took me to, because my dad really did help install my love of like science fiction and fantasy in me at an early age. Like, I had an opportunity to go to space camp, and my dad fully encouraged me, and I went to space camp because I loved astronauts, and like, so like, you know, my dad loved the right stuff, and I saw that a bunch, and Apollo 13, like, there was all these things. But ultimately, I came down on something that I'm thankful for kind of a different reason.
Okay.
I'm choosing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I could specifically say Fellowship of the Ring if I had to choose one, but I'd say the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And the reason why I'm thankful for these movies is that I had been reading The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogies, the books, for years prior to the movies.
Right.
And I loved the fantasy genre. And Professor J.R.R. Tolkien's work is the high watermark in fantasy. It is the standard, which all fantasy is really kind of held to.
Right.
And there were so many of my friends, so many people I knew that I always felt like if they would just give it a chance and read it and work kind of through some of the stuff where, like, you know, you get some very descriptive sections where, you know, hearing about the fields and the mushrooms and the trees and this and that.
Yeah.
Professor Tolkien paints a very, very vivid world, but sometimes it feels like it gets a little bit in the weeds on some of that and some of the poetry stuff that's in there.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'd have friends that, like, they'd like, I tried it, I got a couple chapters in, and I just couldn't. Yeah, I didn't want to read 40 pages about rocks and trees. I'm like, that's no over exaggeration. That's not how it is. Like, you got to give it, like, I just wanted them to, because I loved it so much, right? I wanted to share that love with other people.
Yeah.
But when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, when Peter Jackson, you know, put these together, and, you know, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boboyans and the whole Weta team, you know, down there, when they made these movies, they took something that I loved in books and they brought that world to life, and it looked like I'd always imagined it. And now so many people went and saw those movies that never read the books and probably never would read the books, but they heard how amazing it looked and how great the story was. And so flocks and, you know, droves of people went to the movie theaters to see these movies. And I got to share my love and be able to talk to friends and family that had never read the books, but now they'd seen the movies, and the movie adaptation from the books is so good in so many ways. It's the best, in my opinion, it's the best book to film adaptation. And I got to share that world with them and share my love, and they got to, like, understand the characters and the drama and all the fantasy. And so I'm really thankful to those movies for coming out, because it got to allow me to talk with more people about something that I loved, that without that movie, I definitely wouldn't have had as many people. Now I'm with the invention of the internet, sure, right? But right. I mean, on a global scale, that movie like introduced that genre and those books to lots of people.
Right, and I'm in that category. I'm like your friends. I just could not quite get through it. I read Fellowship, and I could not. The Two Towers really was a struggle for me. But yeah, I love that answer. That makes perfect sense to me. As passionate as you are about Lord of the Rings, and you call him Professor Tolkien, that's the respect you have for him.
Professor Tolkien.
And so that makes perfect sense. I like that answer. I'm thankful for Lord of the Rings too. That came to me during high school as well. That was another pivotal series where I watched it. Yeah. A lot.
Lots. Yeah.
Lots of
right.
that movie over and over with the special edition that they all had their different color and they looked like books, and it was so cool. Yep. And that was.
Yeah. I've got them upstairs. I love them.
Yep.
Well, this was a little harder than I thought it would be, but ultimately, like, I loved our choices.
Yeah.
I loved your choices. I loved my choices. I think some really good things. So our question of the week, Super Friends, to you. We're not going to make you say like a video game or TV show or movie. You can if you'd like, but just basically, this is Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? we want to hear from you. What are you thankful for? You let us know. We will talk about it next week. It can be light. It can be breezy. It can be heavy. It doesn't matter. So let us know, and we'll talk about it next week. Matt, we're getting close. We got another episode of The Mandalorian coming up here this weekend. That's rolling on. We're doing the sidekicks. And we're getting closer, my friend, to the Christmas episode. And then we're also getting super close to a movie club, Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, man.
Just around the corner.
Oh, I can't wait. Please be good. Please be good. Oh, my gosh.
So something to look forward to. I'm thankful that we have that to look forward to.
Love that. Amen.
All right, super friends, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.